this campaign, it's not about me. It's not about getting me elected to Congress because that's what I want to do. I've got a job. I've got a family. It's not about Joe Bonner. It's not about giving Joe Bonner, a chance to keep his job, because that's probably the only thing he's qualified, if you call it that, to do. This is about getting somebody, a non-career person in Washington, who's not afraid to do the right thing by his people. And that means if I go up to Washington and I make everybody mad, I make the Republican Party mad, I make the lobbyists mad, I make the minority, majority whip, whatever you want to call it, when they're mad because I'm not voting party line, but I'm doing right by my constituents. I'm doing what I believe on principle is right, and what you guys believe on principle is right. And if I do that and I don't get elected again 2 years later, I can come back to this meeting and hold my head up high to you guys and say, I had the most successful 2 years out there. Okay? Odds are, just like you see with Ron Paul, who's a man of principle, you do that, people say, wow, this guy's good. And you're going to get elected again. The problem for politicians is a lot of them is they start off saying, well, I'm going to do this just short term and then end up there forever. I'm here to tell you right now that my absolute total time limit I want to spend up there is 6 years. And I come to that thinking, okay, I get elected, I've got 2 more years with the Obama administration and the Democrats. And as we're seeing now, Republicans really can't get much done. But just because you're in the minority party doesn't mean you're useless. Your job then is to go hit every news organization that will listen to you, write to the newspapers, write to magazines, write to everybody, even people outside of your constituency, outside your district. Visit other districts where you think you might be able to make a difference, and get the people behind your message and your issues, and get the support. So their other congressional constituents will go out there and support, our initiatives. We don't see that today because nobody wants to upset the guy in the office next to them. Career people don't want to make waves. They don't want to do anything that's going to, be spectacular, but they don't want to do anything, dumb either. They're just going to play, mediocre politics. The goal, though, for the first 2 years is to raise awareness and raise support. So if 2 years later we end up with an administration change, one that's more favorable to conservative principles and conservative values, then you spend your time, from getting those issues passed into law, and which for me I'll cover those what they are, and then after that, step down, because after 6 years there's no way I could honestly tell any one of you that I would have my finger on the pulse of this district better than somebody who's been here the entire time. I don't want to spend the rest of my life half in D.C., half here. I don't believe in career politicians, but I believe political service should be a term of service. I'm in a position where I can take time out of my life and go do this. Now, by no means, somebody asked me, they said, you think you're making a sacrifice? And I said, absolutely not. There's absolutely no way I can call this a sacrifice. Well, the lady said, well, you have a son coming, you're going to miss soccer games, you're going to miss this, you're going to miss that. I said, ma'am, I just got back from D.C. and I spent the afternoon walking down the National Mall. I walked past the Vietnam Memorial. I walked past the World War II Memorial. I walked past the Korean War Memorial. And I saw names and I saw memorials to people who made true sacrifice. And there's no way you can tell me that I'm in that category because I'm going to miss a soccer game. It's something I believe in, though. And I'm willing to do this, to go up there and do what I can for what I believe in. And hopefully you guys will, we're all on the same page and you believe it too. Get our agenda done. And then come home. Let somebody else do it. Term limits are well, actually, we'll take a step back. The platform of my campaign is simple. I'm not going to campaign based on issues like you might see every other politician out there doing it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run my campaign based on principles. Because an issue that's out there today may not be an issue that's out 4 years from now when I'm sitting in D.C. So what I've done is I've come up with something I call Republicans 2.0. And I call it 2.0 because, honestly, I think we've got Republicans 1.0. And like anything else that becomes obsolete or outdated, it needs to be upgraded. So Republicans 2.0 to me is a list of 10 core principles, 10 core conservative principles, which I am telling you I will represent by. Now, no matter what the issue is in the future, somehow these issues can be tied back to my principles. So if we don't know an issue to 4 years from now, you say, well, I haven't talked to him about that, but it matches up with one of these principles. I have an idea how it's going to go, so I think I might agree with this guy.